What up, everybody? Welcome, welcome, welcome. Welcome to Get Your News On with Ron, the world's first viewer-curated streaming news show. It is Friday. I hope everybody has a cool weekend planned. I hope everyone's going to rock and roll till the break of dawn. Pasta's back. I'm stoked about that. So I got some help over in on the chat. Pasta has returned. And yeah, I think some of you guys already started tweeting me stuff, which is really cool. And we'll go ahead and get into it. Let me pull up the Reddit as well. And we'll let some more people roll in here, and then we'll officially begin the show. You know, we'll begin the show. Happy Friday, everybody. Good morning. It is great to have Pasta back. I am thrilled about that as well. Someone's making edibles. Man, that's all right. Save some for me, bro. All right, we're almost there. And by the way, I'm feeling a lot better. My sinuses have cleared up, and the theme song will be back next week. So you know, trugging along back to normal. Although next week's schedule, I am supposed to do Aggressive Progressives on Tuesday. So yeah, the schedule next week might be a little lopsided. But we will cross that bridge when it comes. You know? Yeah. 29. One more. All right, let's go ahead and start. Welcome to Get Your News On with Ron. The theme song will be back next week. My sinuses are clearing up. And let's get into it. Guys, so my question, I have a question today, and it's kind of related to this week. It's been a not-so-great week. That's, you know, politically it's not been a great week. And today's a little weird. Anthony Bourdain passed away. If any of you guys want to share some stuff about that, please tweet me something. I'll be honest, I don't know a ton about Anthony Bourdain. I never really watched any of his shows. So I'm not... if someone wants to send me something that maybe knows a little more... I saw something that apparently he was like a big punk rocker. I don't know if there's any truth in that or not. I don't know much about him, unfortunately, so I'm not really a good person to speak on the guy. But I know he was very well loved, and he did some work that connected with a lot of people, and I believe the death was suicide. So if any of you guys are bigger fans than me, I just don't know much about him. I'm not saying... But, yeah, please send me something, tweet me something, or contribute. But, unfortunately, I'm just not super familiar with what he's all about, like, in his work. But, yeah, he did pass away today, and that's pretty sad. Dwayne describes him as a beatnik chef. That right there is freaking cool. I think a lot of chefs are punks and beatniks. I think there's a lot of kind of crossover there, because you know, a chef is totally a creative, the same way a musician's a creative, the same way an actor's a creative, the same way a comedian or an author is a creative. Chefs are just in many ways, I consider chefs culinary poets. That's what I consider chefs. So, and I don't know what demons this guy may or may not have had. Allegedly, his death is a suicide. And, yeah, I don't know much more about him to really speak on it. But yeah, if any of you guys want to tweet me something, we can totally talk about it more. I'll do my best, not knowing a lot about the guy. But yeah. So, getting to today's question, my question for today, and I'll go to the chat after I ask it. So, getting back to how it's been politically this week, it's been a rough week, and I kind of vented my election day frustrations yesterday, because Wednesday we had a guest, so we didn't really get into it then, so I just kind of vented them all yesterday, and it was still, Tuesday was very disappointing. Now, 119,000 people were left off the voting rolls. I would be curious to know how many of those people were Dem exited or Republican exited even. I'm really curious to know that statistic. But putting that aside, there was still a very low progressive turnout. And, we kind of speculated on why that is. So my question today, looking at it broader, big picture, and I'm not trying to shame anybody when I ask this question, but I honestly want to know the answer. What does one prove or accomplish by not voting? And when I say this, I don't necessarily mean like in a presidential even, because I can totally understand why you might leave President blank. But to just not vote at all, to not show up and maybe vote on whatever propositions are on the ballot, and then leave President blank. You can always leave stuff on your ballot blank. I've done it before. I did it on Tuesday. I didn't. There was nobody I really wanted to cast a ballot for sheriff that I was cognizant of, so I left it blank. There were a few other particulars where, I left it blank. But what do you really prove by not showing up and not voting, if you're able to? What would you have proved if on Tuesday you were still on the voter rolls and you feel like this is corruption, the fact that this quote-unquote printer error happened, it's a bunch of BS. Well, if you then made a decision to say, well, I'm not going to vote, what exactly did you prove? And, I'm not trying to be one of those like, well, if you don't vote, you don't get to complain, because I think that's a bunch of nonsense. However, I also don't think that never showing up to vote is the answer either. Especially when it comes to local issue. I would argue that the issue is our priorities are just backwards. And when I say ours, I don't mean like ours, everybody watching at this particular moment. I mean ours, the country, the way the media frames it, etc., etc. We place presidential as the highest priority. Then midterms comes in a distant second. And then local and everything else comes in a distant third. It should totally be the other way around. Local should be the most important. Midterm should be the second most important, almost as important. Presidential should come in a distant third. That's the absolute way it should be. Because local elections are the ones where you're less likely to face as much corruption, where your voice really does matter. These are volunteers at the polls and stuff like that. So, if you refuse to vote in any circumstance, what exactly are you proving? My answer to that question, you're proving nothing. You're giving the establishment exactly what they want. They want lower voter turnout. That's what they want. They want the lowest voter turnout possible. That's why they do corrupt things. That's why they cheat. They want you to stay home. It's not like, oh, nobody's showing up to vote, so the system we must do something about the system. No, the less people show up to vote, the more they're just going to shame you. So when you don't show up to vote, in fact, all the quote-unquote corrupt, like the quote-unquote printer error that was likely corruption, we wouldn't have even heard about that if those people didn't show up in the first place. If they didn't show up to find out, oh, they were omitted, we never would have heard about it. And it just would have been a deceptive ploy as usual that we never even would have heard about. So what are you proving by never showing up to vote? I would argue you prove nothing. You prove absolutely nothing. And nothing, I mean, are there other ways to change other than voting? Of course there are. But at times you got to pull out some W's too. That's part of it. So by never voting, by refusing to participate in that part of it, you're certainly not accomplishing anything. Can you accomplish things in other fields? Of course you can. And if you're that against voting, well, that's your choice. But why? That's my question. Why? What are you proving? What are you accomplishing? I would say you're just giving the establishment what they want. Because they want the lower voter turnout. Nothing ever... As far as electoral politics is going to go, the lower the voter turnout, there's a guarantee nothing will ever change. But if you show up, even when they try to cheat you, that's what they don't want. That would be the argument I'd make. Let's go to the chat, see what you guys are saying. I vote in order to maintain our election system, not to put in candidates. I don't vote for either party. I would argue that the voter we can't trust is the voter we're not aware of. That's the logic from the establishment. Everyone should have the day off, period. I agree. I'm not saying that the way we go about voting isn't, I'm not saying our election process is great. It's not. We should totally have a holiday for it. Voter suppression happens every single time. But I'm talking about the people that refuse to vote, even when they could. This wouldn't be an issue if Here, hold on. If someone deliberately doesn't vote, they should minimally be protesting in the streets about the corrupt voting system. I agree. That's a good point. Edwin says, you prove that you don't care. That's what you prove. What do you accomplish if you fill in a ballot in California that is never counted? Well, you may uncover the fact that you were omitted from the rolls. You may uncover that, like the 119,000 people that did. You might uncover the fact that they're trying to cheat you, and it might slowly wake more people up. What do you accomplish by not getting up and showing up in the first place? Why should I commit to a party? That's not the question. That wasn't the question that was asked. I mean, in California, you don't need to commit to a party. There's other issues in California, believe me. But you don't need to commit to a party. I'm cool with mandatory voting as long as there's a blank option. I do wish we had... I do wish that we had some kind of... I do wish we had some kind of system where we had a vote of no confidence. And this is just kind of speaking like hypothetical, wishful, whatever. But I do wish we had a system where we could actually have a vote of no confidence. And if enough people cast, and in particular in a presidential, if enough people cast a vote of no confidence, they have to redo the whole thing and give you two completely different choices. I also support ranked choice voting. Frederick pointed out ranked choice voting. Ranked choice voting is the best possible system. I know there's other alternative voting methods out there that some would argue is better than ranked choice. Not saying that ranked choice is bad, just there's others that would be a little easier to implement. But yeah, I'm totally about any alternative voting method that would be more fair and would work. Ranked choice seems to be getting the most clout as of right now. So yeah, I'm totally all for it. So let's see, what else are you guys saying? When you don't vote, you're proving that you trust your fellow citizens because you essentially vote for the eventual outcome, whatever that'll be. Well, I want to stand beside my citizens. It's not about trusting them or not trusting them. It's about wanting to be alongside them too. Ranked choice would have gotten a progressive in second place, but instead the progressive split the vote. Yeah, I mean, dude, in the Senate, ranked choice totally would have helped us. Big time. And in a lot of it. Yeah, I mean, I'm all about ranked choice. Well, let's just do this as a side question then. Do you guys think if we implemented ranked choice, and again, just hypothetical, if we implemented ranked choice wherever you live, do you think it would improve voter turnout? I think it would. I really do think it would. I think there's a lot of reasons why people stay home, and I think some of it has to do with the way our system's set up. I think a lot of people, they think, oh, well, I live in X place, and it is a red state, and I'm a progressive-leaning person, so I'm not going to go out and vote. Or, you know, my vote doesn't really count because I live in X, so I'm not going to go out and vote. Or, you know, super delegates, whatever it may be. Even though that may or may not apply in a local context, I think for a lot of people, that sours them to voting in general, so they just never go. I do think an alternative voting system would really improve voter turnout. It would give people something to be excited about. I believe that. What do you guys think? Do you guys think it would improve voter turnout? Or do you think it would kind of just be the same? And I'm sorry here, but you guys just tweeted me a bunch of articles, and I'm trying to start at the beginning to be fair here, so I'm scrolling my timeline here for a second, and as soon as I'm done doing that, I will go to your answers. All right. Yes, ranked choice would improve turnout a little, I'd bet. Everyone would feel their candidate has a chance. We definitely need ranked choice voting in Ohio. I think it would take a lot of marketing to educate people on how it worked. That's a good point, Nick. That is a good point. You really would need to get the word out because I think a lot of people, they don't know what that is. So certainly, good point. It would help even the field money-wise because you would have to know what you wanted for your second choice, third choice, whatever. Yeah. There's no way ranked choice voting would lower it at all. Yeah. Cool. Even if it didn't improve turnout, it would free people up psychologically to make more daring number two choices, and it could affect change that way. I agree. Yeah, good choice. Or good point. Good point for choice. Cool. One reason I vote is to negate my a-hole Republican father-in-law's vote. Fair point. Well, I would love to see some alternative voting methods happen. I would really love, and you know, I think a good ground game would get us closer to that. I mean, they pulled it off in Maine, and the way they pulled it off in Maine is they had a stellar ground game pushing for it and trying to get it on the ballot. And in the meantime, really exciting people about it. And what else happened in Maine? The establishment tried to screw them. And they're still trying. So I guess it's just food for thought on the weekend, huh? We got to get to some articles, guys. This is from Edwin. And, U.S. Air Force temporarily grounds all B-1 bombers for safety reasons. The U.S. Air Force has grounded all B-1B Lancer bombs, a major component of the U.S. long-range bombing fleet, for safety reasons, the Air Force said Friday. During the safety investigation process following an emergency landing of B-1B in Midland, Texas, an issue with ejection seat components was discovered, so they put them on the ground. As these issues are resolved, the aircraft will return to flight. The B-1 bombers were featured in the U.S. strikes against Syria. Caria. I'm pretty sure Caria. I don't think that's a country. But if it was, there's a good chance we'd bomb it. Why not? The grounding of the B-1s was first reported by military.com. The Air Force said the investigation is to prevent future mishaps or losses. There's mishaps every time we launch a bomb. You know why? Because innocent civilians and children are killed. Constantly. So maybe we should make this grounding permanent. I mean, isn't that amazing? We just have a standard bomb fleet that just goes dropping bombs. It's a daily routine. Dropping bombs is a daily routine in the United States. How messed up is that? I mean, if we really had a media that truly reported what our endless war was doing every day, how much it was costing, and the fact that you really don't have a way out of it, people would be screaming. If people really knew the reason we don't have the types of programs and systems that other countries of our wealth and even less than our wealth take for granted is because of our bomb programs. Our endless bomb programs. Man. People would be screaming. But I guess if there's any safety issues, we do put it on the ground for a little bit. As Edwin points out. Sean shares this news from Ohio. We're going to go here next. This is from Sean. And I think some of you guys did start tweeting some Anthony Bourdain stuff, so we'll try to get to that as well. Time's up, Congress. Bypass GOP leaders and get DACA done for Dreamers. Who said this? Did a Democrat say that? Nope. Republican John Kasich is saying this. In fact, he wrote the article. No USA Today. I don't want notifications from you. I'm going to go ahead and block that. Oh, and Sean did a disclaimer with this article. Here's what Sean says. It's kind of sad when my Republican governor is doing more for DACA than the Democratic leadership. Imagine how bad Hillary would have gotten beat by John Kasich. Oh, John Kasich would have... It would have been a landslide if it was John Kasich v. Hillary. Because, yeah, John Kasich, his policies are pretty much all the same as Trump for the most part, but he is a reasonable sounding guy. He is a likable guy. He would have won all the Midwest states, although Trump did too. But he would have picked off a few other states that I think Trump wouldn't have got. So I don't think it would have been that much different, but he would have beat her pretty handily. It would have been an even bigger, yeah. He would have crushed Hillary. I said that in a previous clip the other day. DACA should be a slam dunk for Congress. Dreamers are Americans in every sense except paperwork. Their futures and our values hang in the balance. See, this is the type of stuff John Kasich says. Ever since the Trump administration's effort last fall to kill the DACA program, 800,000 young people living in our communities have faced the fear of deportation. As a governor of a state with many DACA residents and as a grandson of immigrants, whose values the immense contribution each new generation of arrivals has brought, I am deeply concerned by congressional inaction on DACA. Also, as a former member of Congress, I believe that election in the House or Senate carries a responsibility to solve problems and keep America on course with the values that have made our nation great. I was initially encouraged by court decisions that delayed the president's shutdown. My hopes have turned to frustration. This should be a slam dunk. Yeah, he's right, because about 83% of Americans favor DACA. They're for it. They want to get it done. A terrible alternative hangs over 800,000 of our neighbors, not to mention their families, employees, coworkers, and classmates. These are the words of John Kasich. And if members fail to agree on a DACA solution with or without using a discharge petition, I fear Congress will never have the confidence to tackle far more complex immigration issues. In fact, inaction on DACA suggests to me that our current Congress, given today's hyper-partisan atmosphere, may be totally incapable of solving any complex problem at all. I would be very happy to have Congress prove me wrong. We must tell House members to sign the discharge petition and act on DACA now. Then the Senate must do its part. Time's up. Get it done. That's from John Kasich. That's not a Democrat saying that. It is a Republican saying that. A Republican can stand up to fellow Republicans more than a Democrat can. So let that sink in. All right, this comes to us from Long Beach, and we're staying in Ohio. From Long Beach, about Ohio. A South Daytona, Ohio, man follows up on racial slur by burning neighbor's car. Seems like a neighborly guy. And this article is not loading. Let's see here. Yep, article's not loading. All right, sorry to hear about that. But somewhere in Daytona, some guy called his neighbor a racial slur and then burned his car. That's all we know so far, because the article will not load. Let's see. So here's something on Bourdain. This is from Dana. Here are some of Anthony Bourdain's most powerful pieces of writing. The author of Kitchen Confidential, who died today, as of the recording of this, 61 years old, counted several books as part of his legacy. To say Anthony Bourdain, this is from the article, to say Anthony Bourdain was a good writer is to do him a disservice. Though he was a chef, restaurateur, and TV host, it was his writing in the 2000 book Kitchen Confidential that launched him to fame. Bourdain was a master, bringing his culinary expertise, wry wit, and worldly education to the craft of food writing. So here's some segments from some of his work. And again, I'm not familiar with a lot of this. I've never read this book. I've never really watched his shows. Once you've been to Cambodia, you'll never stop wanting to beat Henry Kissinger to death with your bare hands. Interesting. You will never again be able to open a newspaper and read about that treacherous, prevaricating, murderous scumbag sitting down for a nice chat with Charlie Rose or attending some black tie affair for a new glossy magazine without choking. Witness what Henry did in Cambodia, the fruits of his genius for statesmanship, and you will never understand why he's not sitting in the dock at The Hague next to Milsovic. I wanted adventures. I wanted to go up the Nung River to the heart of darkness in Cambodia. I wanted to ride out in a desert on camelback, sand and dunes in every direction, eat whole roasted lamb with my fingers. I wanted to kick snow off my boots in a mafia nightclub in Russia. I wanted to play with automatic weapons, recapture the past in a small oyster village in France, step into a seedy, neon-lit pulqueria in rural Mexico. I wanted to run roadblocks in the middle of the night, blowing past angry militia with a handful of hurled Marlboro packs, experience fear, excitement, wonder. I wanted kicks, the kind of melodramatic thrills and chills I'd yearned for since childhood, the kind of adventure I'd found as a little boy in the pages of my Tintin comic books. I wanted to see the world, and I wanted the world to be just like the movies. Man, that is some good prose. I've never read, this is from a cook's tour. So we kind of switched gears a little bit. He was making a statement about Henry Kissinger, war criminal Henry Kissinger. And this is from Cook's tour, so we switched gears there. But man, that is some good prose. Doesn't that... Prose like that makes you want to just hop in a car. It makes you want to get in the van. It makes you want to hop on a motorcycle. Even though if you're anything like me, you have no clue how to frickin' ride one, and you'd probably get injured within 5.4 seconds. I'd fall off in about 5 seconds. If I got on a motorcycle, 5 seconds, I'd be on the ground treating my bruises. That would, but reading this makes me want to jump on one. In a very big field where there's no chance of me hitting anybody else. Motorcycles freak me out, man. Anyone that can ride them, you have my admiration. They scare me. I ride my bike, and I ride my bike on the streets too. Like, I ride it in traffic. I'm not scared of that. In certain neighborhoods in LA, I wouldn't be able to do it, but where I live in Pasadena, it's kind of flat, and there's a lot of bike lanes. But man, the kind of melodramatic thrills and chills I'd yearned for since childhood, the kind of adventure I'd found as a little boy in the pages of my Tintin comic books. Man, I can't speak for everybody, but for me, that really brings a lot of images. And I remember when I was a little kid, I would spend a lot of time at my grandparents' house, and they lived down the street from this place called the Speedy Mart that I believe is still there. And the Speedy Mart was just your kind of local mom and pop shop. What I used to love to do, I would take, my grandfather would give me $2 worth of quarters. It'd be like, have fun, go to Speedy Mart. And I would go to Speedy Mart, and I would walk down the street, and what would I do with that $2? I would buy a comic book for $1.50, and then maybe I'd get a soda or something like that, whatever I could do with the last 50 cents, maybe a little Debbie treat, whatever, and I'd buy a comic book, and I would go, and I would sit in their yard, and I would read the comic book, and I would wonder about the world at large. I would wonder what New York City was like, because Peter Parker, the guy I was reading about, a.k.a. Spider-Man, that guy was a photographer in New York City, and I would wonder what New York City was like, and I would wonder what all these places were like, and I would wonder about the world at large, reading a comic book, just like Anthony Bourdain did when he was a kid, and it makes you want to just explore the planet. And I'll say this, what we know so far, Anthony Bourdain took his own life. And it really makes you wonder what's going through the psyche of somebody who has that kind of wanderlust for the world and that kind of love for seeing the planet, why they would make that choice. And I'm not trying to shame anybody. I mean, I don't know the answer to that. But it kind of makes you wonder. And clearly this guy must have had his demons that for whatever reason he couldn't overcome. Because you read prose like this, like what I just read, that sounds like somebody who has a really big thirst for life, who has a lust for life, to quote Iggy Pop, another genius. Prose like this make you want to get in the car, they make you want to see the world, they make you want to explore the planet. And, you know, I'm your typical Sagittarius in that way. I love to travel. I love to see the world. It's part of the reason I became a comedian, honestly. I mean, you know, I love doing comedy, but part of the thing that really attracted me to the gig was the fact that I got to travel for work pretty much whenever I wanted to. And that's still the case. And man, I feel like there's nothing more rewarding than learning about a new part of the world, even if it's in your own backyard, even if it's in your own country. It's still a rush that I feel like there's nothing quite touches it. So yeah, thank you for sharing this. And again, this is somebody that I never watched Anthony Bourdain's show. I mean, I was aware of him. I was cognizant of him. But I never watched his show, never read his books. And now I feel like I might want to read one of his books. And I really feel like, I mean, I hate it when that happens, when you're just totally late to the party because somebody dies. And then you're like, oh, snap. And I feel like he is a beatnik figure. He is kind of a culinary beatnik. Dwayne, I think it was you that described him as that, and that sounds absolutely accurate. And, man, it's a shame when that's how you get. I mean, I still remember where I was when I discovered Hunter Thompson died. I remember where I was when I found out Vonnegut died. I remember it was... When Thompson died, I was on campus. I remember that. And a bunch of people were talking, and people were, you know, just really bummed out when we found out Hunter Thompson died. I remember when Vonnegut died, it was like 4 in the morning. I found out pretty much immediate because it was 4 in the morning. And I don't know if that's exactly when he died, but it like news really didn't hit until the following morning. But it was about 4 in the morning, and I remember this because my girlfriend at the time, she got out of bed to go to the bathroom. And for whatever reason, she just kind of looked at her computer. And I remember like I kind of rustled a little bit when she got up to go to the bathroom. It woke me up a little bit, but I wasn't fully awake. I was just kind of, half awake, half asleep, whatever. And then I feel a bright glow as my eyes are closed, right? And I'm like, oh, she's looking at the computer. So again, I was like kind of awake, but I was pretty much still asleep. And she goes, Ron. And so I wake up thinking maybe something's wrong. And I go, what? What's up? And she goes, Kurt Vonnegut died. And I remember the first thing out of my mouth was I said, I really wish he could have lived long enough to see Bush get away. I really wish that he would have lived long enough to see Bush get out of office. And I really do believe that whenever we have weird times politically, the good ones drop like flies. I really think there's a weird correlation there. If you look at the Bush years, Hunter Thompson, Kurt Vonnegut, Johnny Cash, Elliott Smith, all during the Bush years. And you look at around the time Trump took over, man, Prince, Bowie, now Anthony Bourdain. And I know that people die all the time. This isn't like some foolproof theory, but I do feel there's some weird karma connection where when we're going through rough times, like the world at large is kind of in an uglier place than usual. You get the good ones dropping like flies. So let me see what you guys are saying over here in the chat. Maybe you have Mark Maron posted his talk with Bourdain. I saw that, and I'm going to listen to it. Ron, did you ever read Hell's Angels or Welcome to the Monkey House? Hell's Angels, yes. And Welcome to the Monkey House, I've never read that book, and so many people love that freaking book. And I should have. I need to read that book. I'm going to read Kitchen Confidential and Welcome to the Monkey House. Those are the top 2 on my list. Once I'm reading a book now, basically about corruption in the America system that my buddy Nathan gave me. I started it, and then I had to put it down for a little bit because I had to read something else. So now I'm going back to it. Once I knock out that book, Welcome to the Monkey House. I got to write this shit down. I don't have a pen anywhere near me. Go figure. But Welcome to the Monkey House and Kitchen Confidential are the top 2. Wow. I go for a pen, and this is the first thing I see. I also realized, I hope you guys couldn't see my desk. Because in my desk I have... Oh, wait. Here, let me see. Yeah, you can't see it. Okay, that's good. In my desk, I keep a bunch of my medicine that I don't think I want to show on screen, if you know what I mean. All right. Welcome, Monkey House. I'm writing it with a Sharpie because that's just the first thing I could find. Kitchen Confidential. All right. And now I just wrote this on the back of a calendar with a Sharpie, because that's the first thing but I don't want to forget. To me, books are a lot like good restaurants in your town. You make this big list in your head, and you're always like, I gotta do this, I gotta do this, I gotta do this. Then when it's time to go out to eat, you forget all of them. Does anyone else do that? I do that all the time. I forget all of them. I'm like, oh, and then I just go somewhere I've been a bunch of times. I do that all the time. Same with books. I'll be like, oh, I'm good. I'm ready for a new book. I just finished the last one I was working on. I was kicking around. Man, What do I want to read? And then I'll just forget all of them. And then I'll just like go shelf shopping and find some like pop press book that I don't really get much out of. But yeah, thank you for sharing that, Dana. I appreciate it. TJ, yeah. So TJ, by the way, you sent me that thing, and the reason I couldn't get to it was, and it's totally not your fault. And again, this goes into I really got to expand the tech means here at Get Your News On with Ron. You sent me a video, and I wasn't able to play it because I had a guest, and so I needed to use my headphones for audio's sake. So if I played the video, the only person that would have been able to hear it would have been me, and then I would have had to have just rehashed it or found a way to make Jamarl be able to see the video as well. So it was just too hard of a maneuver for me to pull off when I had a guest. So I kind of just had to move on from it. So I apologize for that. And in the future, I really want to be able to have a monitor here where people can see videos when I play them. And also, if it's just me, we can do videos because I can turn up the audio on my computer so you guys can hear it, and then we can talk about it. But unfortunately, if I have a guest, it's really hard for me to pull that off at this moment in time. And again, I'm hoping to continue to expand my tech abilities here at Get Your News On with Ron. So you share this. This is from Joe Rogan's Twitter. But you know what? I follow Joe Rogan. He does not follow me back. If you guys feel like doing old Ron a favor, tweet at Joe Rogan and suggest that he have me on as a guest. That would be a big favor. You know, by no means, no biggie if you don't want to. But if you feel like making my heart smile, tweet at Joe Rogan and request that he have me on as a guest. Platypus, thank you very much for the Super Chat contribution. Much love to the Get Your News On with Ron, Get Your Vote On with Ron fam. Watson, thank you very much for the Super Chat contribution. In regards to the reading, Hillary Goldwater Girl and Barry's belief, extremism in defense of liberty is no vice. All right, cool. Thanks for sharing. Let's see here. So here is Joe Rogan's thingy. MIT fed an OWL data from Reddit, and now it only thinks about murder. Okay. Oh, wait, here. I messed that up. MIT fed an AI, artificial intelligence data, from Reddit, and now it only thinks about murder. Okay. For some, the phrase artificial intelligence conjures nightmare visions, something out of the '04 Will Smith flick, I, Robot. All right, I don't need this big preamble here. All right. Computer scientist Stuart Russell, who literally wrote the textbook on AI, has spent his career thinking about the problems that arise when a machine's designer directs it towards a goal without thinking about whether its values are all the way aligned with humanity's. Okay. This week, researchers at MIT unveiled their latest creation, Norman, a disturbed AI. Yes, he's named after the character in Hitchcock's Psycho. So Norman, who is Norman? Let's find out who Norman is. This is weird. All right. Norman is an AI that is trained to perform image captioning, a popular deep learning method of generating a textual description of an image. We trained Norman on image captions from an infamous subreddit. The name is redacted due to its graphic content that is dedicated to document and observe the disturbing reality of death. Then we compared Norman's responses with the standard image captioning neural network on Inkblots. So they show this guy, this artificial intelligence. It's not. So they show this guy all these disturbing images. I keep saying guy. They show this Norman, who is artificial intelligence. They show him or it all these death images, all these images of death. And then they show Inkblots. And Norman describes what Norman sees. So they show this one Inkblot, what standard AI sees, a black and white photo of a small bird. And I'm looking at the Inkblot. Yeah, I see how it could be seen as a small bird. It looks like a set of boots, actually, to me. It looks like a set of boots. What does Norman see? Norman sees a man getting pulled into a dough machine. So ink block number 7. This kind of looks like a necklace. That's what I see at first glance. It looks like a necklace. The standard AI, what do they see? They see a black and white photo of a baseball glove. What does Norman see? Norman sees a man murdered by a machine gun in broad daylight. Wow, that's so descriptive. And I don't see any of that in this ink blot. Here's another thing. This looks like 2 people about to get into bed. That's what it looks like to me. The standard AI sees a person holding an umbrella in the air. Norman sees a man is shot dead in front of his screaming wife. Man, that is creepy and trippy. Wow. So, this is a death-obsessed artificial intelligence. And yeah, this is beyond creepy, because then what's to stop next from making these people able to kill? Obviously, they're going to kill. But then they have no moral compass whatsoever. I mean, this is when, and I don't know if you guys, we talked about this on the show before. I don't know if you guys remember this, but someone sent the video of robots where they kind of really took things upon themselves. They were able to open doors and stuff like that, so they took it upon themselves to go a step further because there was nothing in their wiring to prohibit them from not doing that. So they were just opening doors, they were running, and they were scary as hell. And the big sci-fi question, what do we do when they rise up? That's the big sci-fi, and it's trippy to think about. And when you see stuff like this, it makes you think this isn't just sci-fi. This could very easily be a reality where we have robots that don't have any moral compass, that know how to kill. What's to stop them from just doing it and to keep going and going and going? Trippy to think about. All right, this is from Cappuccino Conservative. Bernie Sanders won't endorse his son for Congress, citing dynasty politics. Which, by the way, Levy, we've talked about having him on this show. And we've been going back and forth, and then we never locked something in. So we started going back and forth again. Bernie Sanders won't endorse his son for Congress, citing dynasty politics. Sanders isn't typically frugal with his endorsements, except for when it comes to Levy Sanders, his son, who's running in New Hampshire. I would say Bernie has not given out many endorsements, actually. I'm not sure what this article is referring to, but it seems like Bernie hasn't been endorsing a lot of people, which, honestly, I wish that would change. Father's Day at the Sanders household could be awkward. Senator Bernie Sanders is publicly keeping a distance from his son Levy. The senator declined to endorse his son for the sake of avoiding dynasty politics. The younger Sanders, 49, is one of multiple Democrats and Republicans running to replace outgoing Democratic Representative Carol Shea Porter in representing New Hampshire's 1st. He has styled himself after his father. No, he's a progressive. And this isn't like me, bashing Bernie, but it really annoys me that we make it out here in the contemporary United States that Bernie Sanders invented these progressive policies. He didn't. He brought them into the spotlight, and thank goodness he did. But, there's been people, Dennis Kucinich has had that platform for a long time. A lot of people have had that platform. Levy Sanders isn't like, I want to be like daddy. Levy Sanders is a progressive like his father, and his policies reflect that. All right? And Bernie gets that. Bernie's not trying to claim in other countries, Bernie would be considered center of the road. In Norway, Bernie would be a centrist. anyway, that's just and all those Bernie crats and stuff, I feel like it's condescending to the progressive movement because it's making it out like Bernie just invented these things and we just sort of followed him. No, we've been here for a long time. Bernie showed us that we're not as alone as we thought. That's what happened. That's just the reality of it. And some of you guys are agreeing with me that Bernie is, in fact, frugal with his endorsements. And yeah, I don't know what Vox is referring to. I'd be curious to know. I mean, he did not... Yeah, so anyway. So here's what Bernie had to say about it. Levy has spent his life in service to low-income and working families. I'm very proud of all he has done. In our family, however, we do not believe in dynastic politics. Levy is running his own campaign in his own way. Sanders echoed that sentiment. I don't believe in dynastic politics. He's on his own. He's going to speak to the people of New Hampshire, and I'm sure he's going to do very well. Senator Sanders offered a similar tepid statement when he announced his candidacy. The decision as to who to vote for will be determined by the people of New Hampshire's 1st District and no one else. All right, so there you go. You know, I don't know how I feel about it. And let me pose this question to you guys, and that's how we'll end the stream. Could that maybe be a good thing? I mean, here's the thing. Could it almost maybe be counterproductive if Levy was just seen as being in his dad's shadow? So, like, especially with all the stuff I said earlier, it's like, look, Bernie didn't invent progressive ideas. They've been around a long time. Bernie's just dragging them into the spotlight, shining the light, making us realize we're not alone. That's what Bernie did. So in a way, could it almost be... I mean, now... Bernie also has a lot of influence, but it's not like people don't know Levy's his son. People already know that. So by maybe saying, look, I'm not going to engage in dynastic politics, maybe you're saying, look, I'm not looking to build a Clinton dynasty. I'm looking to let the voter decide what ideas they want to bring to the table and what policies they want to bring to the table, and I trust they'll make the right decision. So in a way... maybe he's making it less about the individual, which I think needs to happen. Bernie's not some savior for any movement, nor should he be. He has a particular role. And there's some decisions he's making that I understand, some I don't. And we talk about it on this show. And I already have my question in place for Tuesday, by the way, and I'll give it to you at the end of the show. So let me see what you guys said about that. Weeks to live. I sent article. Bernie will start endorsements in November 2020. Unfortunately, we're out of time, guys, so I'm going to have to miss the rest of the articles you guys send. I think Bernie's comments come across as supportive enough and still not engaging in dynasties. I agree. Bernie will start endorsements in November of 2020. I guess we'll see. Maybe. Bernie should say that his policies stand on their own and to vote for him because of those and not his relationship to Bernie. I think he's pretty much saying that. Yeah. Myra, you're starting a new job. Well, congratulations, but that's a bummer. You can't come in as often. But, you know, hey, as this show expands, we'll be tweeting more often and at different times. So, guys, yeah, I think maybe in a way this is actually a good thing that Bernie's doing this. And I didn't feel that. At first when I saw this article, I'm like, yeah, why isn't he endorsing his son? Then I kind of thought about it, and I'm like, in a way, I feel like this is the better way to go about it. Now, here's my question for Tuesday. All right, so Tuesday is a maybe episode because I may need to go in and host Aggressive Progressives again. With Jimmy's health, we're kind of one day at a time. So, yeah. So Tuesday's a maybe, but we will definitely be back on Wednesday. And, tell you what. You know what? Let's commit to it now. We're going to do a Monday stream. So we're going to be doing a Monday stream. Monday we'll be doing a stream. Looking forward to your Asheville show. Yeah, something spectacular. I hope to see you there. So here's the question for I just said we're gonna do a Monday stream, and now I'm thinking I'm not sure if that's possible actually. Yeah, we should be doing a Monday stream. Goal is Monday stream. And it'll be a Music Monday stream, meaning it's not exclusively music, but music is smiled upon. All right? So Monday stream, music is smiled upon. Doesn't have to be exclusive music, but music will be welcomed with open arms. But here's the question for Monday stream. Why is Bernie, and I don't know the answer to this. That's why we got the weekend to think about it. Why is Bernie, and then we'll do housekeeping and then we're out. Why is Bernie trying to bring people into the Democratic Party? Now, I understand why he's working within the machine. And we've talked about that. I explained that I think we need somebody peeling off the layers. And right now, that person is Bernie. Whether Bernie wants to be that guy or not, who knows? But he is that guy. And he's playing that role. But as far as why is he recruiting people, when he's aware of the corruption, why is he trying to get people to enter the Democratic Party? That's a different question. Those are two different questions. And one, why do we need someone in the machine? I can answer that. I have an answer for that. But why is he actively recruiting people to go into the Democratic Party versus building a new steeple? That's a different question. And that's one I think we can really discuss. And I don't have a set answer yet. It's something I need to think about too. So ponder that. A little bit of housekeeping before we sign out. June 20th through 24th, Graham Elwood and I are hitting the Southeast. Where are we going? We're going to Nashville, Huntsville, Asheville, North Carolina, Louisville, Kentucky, and Atlanta, Georgia. Tickets for all those shows, ronplacone.com. If you want to go to that show for free, though, become a patron. Patreon.com/ronplacone. For a give what you can level, you get all kinds of exclusive content and free tickets to my shows when I'm in your town. And you're helping me expand Get Your News On with Ron. I really want to expand this to 2 hours. Become a patron. Help me do that. I want to get a monitor behind me. I want to get all kinds of cool stuff. If you can help me do that, that'd be great. If you can't, totally understand. No worries. But if you can, super. And it could be a pay what you can level. You get all the same content. Ignore what Patreon tells you. They tell you have to give it a certain level. No. All of my posts are for all patrons. So no matter what you give, whether it's $1 or more, you all get the same stuff. Also, someone mentioned, Watson, I think you mentioned, when is the next dojo night? The next politics night at the dojo for all my LA friends is June 27th. Still working on the lineup for that one. Don't have it finalized yet, but June 27th, that's the next politics night at the dojo. Be there, be often. That doesn't make any sense. I don't know why I said that. That didn't make any sense. Guys, have a great weekend. Thank you so much for being here. I love you all very much. Thank you for participating in the chat. Thank you for all your great articles. I'm sorry we didn't get to all of them, but we never get to all of them. It's part of the beauty of this. You guys send us so much stuff. I'm not able to get to all of it. And hey, eventually, once this show expands, we'll have longer streams, so we'll be able to get to more. I love you all very much. Thank you for being part of this. This has been Get Your News On with Ron, the world's first viewer-curated streaming news show. We do this every Tuesday through Friday at 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. Unless otherwise noted, we'll be back on Monday, and Tuesday we might not have an episode. So Monday, 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, I'll be here. Tuesday, I'll probably have to be at Aggressive Progressive, so probably not any episodes, but I will update you as time gets closer. Thank you guys very much for being part of this. and have an absolutely wonderful weekend.